Paul Heyman brings back CM Punk for Bloodline War Games.
Full Gear in New Jersey. We'll go over the results.
It's time to roar around the ring. All right, so the War Games field is set for the Bloodline War Games, and we did get the return of Paul Heyman. We did get the fifth member, which Paul Heyman brought along to join the Bloodline. Seth Rollins was considering it, maybe, maybe not. Said he wanted nothing to do with it. Roman was ready to go along with the Bloodline. Paul Heyman brings back CM Punk to join the Bloodline War Games and make it 5-on-5. Your reaction to Paul Heyman coming back and then bringing CM Punk with him to join the Bloodline?
It was just a total mark-out moment.
Yeah.
I mean, at first you're excited because Paul Heyman's back. And then it's like, holy shit, CM Punk. Like, This is crazy. Which, unexpected. Didn't think he would have any reason to be anywhere near close to this storyline.
How much of you were, when he was like the fifth man, the 5-on-5, were you waiting for Brock's music to hit?
I probably would have expected his music to hit a lot more than CM Punk's.
And I would have reacted I wouldn't say just as loud, but
I think I would have been more hype.
Yeah, I probably would have been a little more hyped.
And I would have immediately been like, okay, now the Bloodline 2.0 needs like a sixth member because Brock's going to annihilate like 4 people already.
For sure. But do you like the fit of CM Punk with in this feud, the angle to go that route after everyone else that was obviously brainstormed and everyone else that they asked and Seth Rollins was involved and not and so on. Cody Rhodes, whoever. Yeah,
no, I like it because it kind of opens up a different avenue and it doesn't take away from anything potentially down the road for Punk. But it puts in place this drama of the history of Punk and Paul Heyman, their partnership, and then because Heyman obviously, as we all know, managed Punk during like his title reign, which was big.
His best friend.
Yeah, and then of course being the wise man to Roman.
Yeah.
Punk giving that sort of little like nod of like, I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing it for him kind of thing.
Right.
To me, that just sets up a whole different angle here coming out of war. Because there's really nothing, Punk really has no allegiance to anybody here except for Paul. I'm doing a favor for my friend, not for you.
That's the beautiful thing, right? And we saw how much Punk means to Paul way back at the Hall of Fame, right? And I love this. I do. I still agree with people who are out there when this whole Bloodline War Games thing started who thought, okay, you're hiring all these other members of the family. Let's just make it a full-on, maybe with The Rock, family feud in the Bloodline War Games. I feel like that would have been a good route to go.
I love that Sami Zayn is family.
Shout out to Sami Zayn, man. Like, he's made it. And
it's like, look, man, nothing else is working out for you. Here you are. Just come home. Come back home.
Come back home, right? And again,
you stay at mom's house. It's okay.
Instant new, like, fresh breath of air.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just feels that way for him. I still will argue that the Cody KO feud should be in this match. Even with how much I love this, I still think that those two being in the War Games match would make sense. And honestly, we'll talk about them in a little bit. But after watching their face-to-face, I still feel that even more.
You're not wrong in this. Just as a side, you're not wrong in the respect that it would have brought its own like layer to it because you do have it still plays with the Cody KO feud. You can now have the Sammy KO now on opposite ends of that side as prior to the last War Games. That's all there. And then of course KO's history with the Bloodline, yada yada yada. But I still, we'll get into more in that later.
Well, and so as much as I still think I would have went that route, this is genius.
Yeah.
This is genius because of the connection to Paul Heyman. Remember, Paul Heyman disconnected his number from Roman.
Yeah.
So that still needs to be addressed. And Punk's doing this for Paul. Paul's probably potentially still more loyal to Punk than he is to Roman right now. Because I still think...
We laid out the reasons why.
Exactly. He got laid out in MSG and no one was there to help him. And I feel like that needs to be addressed. Right? So that's a huge thing that can go into. But this is genius because of what this does for Punk's feud with Seth. Because remember, before all of this, on Raw, Solo robbed Seth of a match with Bronson Reed on Raw. And at the end of that match, Seth, as Raw was going off the air, was looking as if he was kind of almost contemplating, all right, I might have to fucking do this.
Yeah.
I might need to
just
get involved.
Get my revenge here, get my one up. Yeah.
And before he could even do it, who else but the guy he hates, maybe number 2 on the list behind Roman or 1 and 1A.
1 and 1A, 1A, 1B, yeah, for sure.
is CM Punk to come in and take potentially Seth Rollins' spot, because I genuinely feel like the route was Seth is going to say he was contemplating it. Seth was going to say he was going to show up. And who else but CM Punk once again in his way?
Yeah, you stole my shine. You just
spot.
had to jump in there. Yeah.
And so what that does for that angle, like moving forward, we expect that match at WrestleMania. That is genius by Triple H booking it that route. Now, as much as I love it, I still would have went KO and Cody. I still would have went more Bloodline members and just make it a full family feud.
I don't know, man. I mean, I see your point. I see where you're coming from with that. This is why I tell you, you're not wrong.
Right.
Like, if that would have been the route, it would have been like, oh, this sucks. Like, no, it would have been good. I just feel like this way allows for the KO Cody thing to exist in its own universe.
Sure.
And now we have this ongoing drama with not only with Paul and Roman in the original Bloodline, Solo and Roman in the Bloodline versus Bloodline, but now you're going to have, like you said, the Seth Rollins CM Punk thing coming from that. And by the way, Paul, Roman, Punk kind of triangle thing.
Right. Now, do you think we are getting closer because of this to a CM Punk Roman angle?
Absolutely.
And how close are we to that?
Probably pretty close. Probably post War Games.
Post War Games, before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We're doing a Punk Roman angle?
Why not? We can just kind of have that thread of that going through WrestleMania till it depends. It depends on a lot of what's going to happen when The Rock comes back, if and when he's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't want to say if, because he's going to, barring anything else. And I really wouldn't want Punk to be heated up in an angle and then kind of suffer the same fate of The Rock came back and took my heat. So it might be, to your point, it might be post, like after WrestleMania, where we kind of like get the payoff or whatever it is, or it could just be something where you have a match at the Rumble. Right. I know we always kind of relegate things to the Rumble, but we are coming up on it fairly quickly.
Yeah, and they've made the Rumble a bigger deal, and I mean that in the sense of the matches outside of the Royal Rumble matches, because before the Rumble, especially when they had a second one with the women's, is you had those two matches and the others were just kind of
preliminary filler matches.
Right.
Maybe one title match that you kind of knew how it was going to end.
Right. So now they've kind of gone the route of like, okay, we're going to put more effort into, again, every PLE and every match is a big deal, right? So a Punk Roman match at a Royal Rumble is possible. Whenever that happens, and why I would let it trickle through Mania season, but I don't know if I would have the match until after Mania, because that feels like too big of a deal to have it in the middle of a Roman Rock thing, potentially Cody involved too.
Plus, you don't want to distract from Punk and Rollins.
And then Punk and Rollins.
Like, you don't want to make that seem, you don't want to go into that match being like, well, let's just wait till he gets to Roman.
Right.
Because then it's like, we've been waiting all year for this.
Exactly. And now Rollins still has his beef with Roman, and then is going to have even more beef because they went and got Punk, so now he's got beef with both. Yeah. How do you handle that? That just feels a little too cluttered to try to like fit in a Punk Roman match, maybe another Seth Roman match before Punk Seth at Mania. Like, that's a lot to try to fit in between now and Mania.
Do you think this was a case of us as fans trying to book how this angle was going to go, who was going to be on what side, who was going to be the fifth guy, whatever, and kind of like going into WrestleMania 40, well, they got to do it this way. Well, they have to give Cody a shot. And maybe The Rock could be the referee. Maybe The Rock, blah, blah. But then they kind of just book it in an entirely different way. And we're like, oh, we really like this. But nobody thought of it.
Yeah, no, and this is another example of that. This is, again, the genius of Triple H booking, because, I mean, we've been preaching on the show. The other Bloodline members and other people have as well. People assumed it was Cody KO, and then people assumed, wow, they're going with Seth, right? Yeah. And everything on social media was like, just... Then
it was like, what if Brock comes back?
And then what if Brock comes back, right? Because when Paul Heyman didn't answer the phone, which that kind of made sense as well, no one brought up CM Punk.
Because everybody's like, why would you?
Why?
He's not going to probably come back because we have ingrained it in our minds as like in mass as fans. You probably are not going to see CM Punk again until he enters the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and usually when anyone goes out around this time of year, we assume Royal Rumble, right? Orton, Rhea just came back. We thought she wouldn't be back till the Rumble. Punk was another one, but when it happens, you go, yeah, it does make sense.
Right, that's what I mean.
Paul
like, you kind of sit back.
Friend.
It's like when The Rock and Roman aligned.
Yeah,
going into 40, you're like, this actually is a better way to go than everything we were all trying to like fantasy book. This actually makes more sense. Yeah,
and it's just, again, and that's the beauty of having Triple H in that spot, is he's always one step ahead of us.
Yeah,
right, like. Wrestling for a while there, and not that it's a bad thing, but kind of got predictable. You knew, okay, we can telegraph where we're going with this.
Yeah.
So-and-so's going to turn on so-and-so, and then you're just waiting for it. right? Everyone assumed the New Day was going to break up like 3 months ago, and we're still
waiting for that anniversary.
For something,
Which
right?
I'm assuming is what the last, like next week probably?
Probably
who knows?
within the next week or two. But so it's just like he's always a little one step ahead of us, and this was another one because all the options. I'm sure there's someone out there that threw CM Punk's name out there, but a majority of everybody thought, okay, we saw the Seth thing and went like, why the hell? And then and again the swerve of putting Bronson Reed on the other side to go, Seth Bronson.
My mindset was either we're going to get to War Games. There's not going to be a fifth person announced. Either Brock is going to make his return or Seth Rollins is going to show up last minute.
Sure.
That's what I was thinking we were going to do.
So now that Punk is in there, how do you expect War Games to go? Who wins? Is there any extracurricular anywhere? How do you expect this match to go?
I almost kind of feel with this one, now that he's been introduced, to get to that, to kind of build that thing with him and Roman, you have Punk or Roman kind of inadvertently cost the other to like lose the match for their team.
Yeah.
You could go that route because it's not going to hurt the OG bloodline to lose if it's going to build to something bigger.
See, my worry with that is that we've already had Solo beat them with that same type of mindset.
We haven't had the Rock's involvement, though.
We haven't had the Rock's involvement, but I'm just saying to have this new bloodline continuously beat the OG bloodline, that if Solo didn't pin Roman at Crown Jewel.
To your point, though, we've had Solo win, right?
Yeah.
Every time we come out of those wins, what do people still say about Solo's bloodline? It's nothing. It's a joke.
Jacob Fatu.
That's it.
Right.
So what you do is it's like give him an argument to be like, you're looking down on me, but every time I step in the ring with this dude, I beat him.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's
so
just,
who's the joke here?
Yeah. It's giving them more credibility, but how much longer do we need to give them more credibility? The Rock, even if they lose at War Games, The Rock leading this new bloodline, if that's the route they're going to go, instantly gives them that credibility. I don't know if you want to give the OG bloodline another loss, as much as it does make sense. I'm just saying if Solo didn't beat them the last couple times they faced, right? Like Solo has gotten over on these guys multiple times. I don't know that you do this to the OG bloodline again, as much as in a box it would make sense for the story of it and the animosity between Punk and Roman. The one thing I'll say, even if it's after the match and doesn't necessarily rob them of the match, I fully expect them to go all in on this Seth angle of the story and him being like, I was going to be the great guy and here Punk is in my way.
Yeah.
I think we need a full heel Seth Rollins back.
Yeah, just like I told you to stay out of my business.
And Seth comes out, whether it's after or during War Games, and lays out, similar to Shield style, lays out Roman and Punk to end Survivor Series.
I think that'd be a good way to go. Seth getting involved at War Games.
Yes. Full heel.
To the point where he you take out, I would probably have him target CM Punk, not Roman necessarily. And you could lead that into being a miscommunication or something where Roman tries to do the right thing. Yeah. Maybe spears Punk inadvertently or however you want to do it to where it allows like Jacob or someone, Tongaloa, to get the pin.
My guy.
Give the man something, damn it. Come on.
It would make a lot of sense. And Seth would be, because remember how fired up he was at the end of last year's Survivor Series when Punk came back. He hates this man, right? So that fire, when he comes out, he could take out the Usos. He could take out Sammy in the process because he's just like, no,
you're just unfortunate collateral in the way, man. That's all it was.
And Seth needs to be the full heel going into this WrestleMania angle with Punk, because here's the thing: as over as Seth is right now, Punk is over, right? Every time he's in the ring, it's just CM Punk chants. How can you have Seth Rollins not be bothered by that?
Can you see an angle where you potentially have? And this would kind of just be piling on icing, but where Paul Heyman gets stomped by Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
It out there trying to basically in defense of CM Punk or whatever, he ends up taking that, which would further drive. I would
have the end of War Games be a vicious Seth Rollins attack. I'm talking chair shot after chair shot on Punk Roman, lay out the bloodline. Heyman gets in the ring, tries and he takes him out too.
And so this would not be like Drew McIntyre with good points and logic behind what he's doing. No. This is just Seth Rollins who's just, I hate you, I'm bitter, I'm angry, whatever.
Yes.
I'm going to do everything I can to get at you.
Very similar to Kevin Owens right now, right? Yes. And kind of looking hypocritical because that's like, you didn't want to team with him anyway, but now you're mad because Punk did, right? Yeah. So it's like with KO, it's like, okay, like Cody is doing his own thing, and then you go and take out Orton. Orton never did anything to you. Yeah. So, but he's looking like a hypocrite in the process. I think Seth could have that same type of character in the Punk angle for WrestleMania, and this is again why it's so genius that Triple H went this route with CM Punk and War Games.
You kind of kickstart that angle early.
Love that. All right, let's run a gauntlet of everything else that's going on around the world of wrestling, including AEW Full Gear in New Jersey. And the main event, Jon Moxley retaining his world title against Orange Cassidy. But then after the match, Adam Page gets involved. And then
There was a lot.
And then Christian Cage gets involved and nearly cashes in his contract, which is then stopped by Jay White.
Yeah.
Moxley and the crew escape into the parking lot where Darby Allin crashes his car into Moxley's truck. And then they get away. Your reaction to everything that took place around this main event?
Pac doesn't wear normal clothes. He doesn't have normal.
That my guy, yeah.
Nothing. He just wears his.
That is so good.
He heard the event was called Full Gear, and he's like, "Why not?
I'm in my gear.
I'm ready all the time.
I'm in my gear."
That's an ongoing thread with him. I'm just like, do you have regular clothes, dude?
Yeah, do you like a
You're
shirt?
not even in a match tonight. What are you doing? Do you? Can you put
Everyone
on?
else in the crew is wearing
Put on some sweatpants, maybe
jeans, something like fuck.
Anyway, no, I do like that. Well, I like what they were trying to go for in the sense of like maybe establishing a bunch of contenders for the title here.
Yeah.
I really think ultimately though the Darby Allin thing is where you just could have ended it. You could have went to that from the match to that, because I think he's like that should be the guy that inevitably is your focal point of being the challenger.
Yeah.
I get why everybody else is involved, but it just seems very like we're going to go left, right, left, back, left, and then to get to this point.
Yeah. It was very random. It was very cluttered, but I will say getting away from the randomness of it and the kind of sloppiness of it, right? Yeah, Adam Page limping down awkwardly. He's in the background of the original shot. I'm like, is that Adam Page limping down the ramp? What's going on?
Get over here. What are you doing?
You know what I mean? Jay White can barely walk too.
Yeah.
Like, so as sloppy as it was, it goes back to something we talked about when Moxley first won the title and got rid of Danielson. Now we have legitimate names surrounding Moxley.
Yes.
That's coming after him. Love it. Because everybody that was involved, Paige is a former world champion, Jay White, everyone wants to be a world champion, Christian Cage, and now Darby Allin. These are the names. Sorry, Orange Cassidy, go away. And, all these, like...
You served your purpose,
all
go
the
away.
mid-carders and like everybody, the Dark Order... That's just not telling.
Shout out to the
story.
Dark Order for still being, hanging on in there and being on the roster.
Good for them, but it's just
I'm like,
not,
what do you do here?
It's not worth what this Moxley story. This dude retired Bryan Danielson. He is the world champion. Please, he's trying to take over the company. Send your big names after these guys. And that's exactly what they did. As sloppy as it was, I appreciated it for that sense. And I think it did.
I see what they're trying to get across with it.
It served that purpose for me. Over on SmackDown, Jade Cargill taken out on SmackDown, potentially out for War Games. Bayley, potential replacement. Who took her out?
Was it Bayley?
Was
it Bianca?
Bayley, Bianca, Naomi was there?
I don't know if
Heel Naomi?
I almost want to believe Bianca or Bayley over Naomi.
Yeah.
Either three of those would be really good. Like, okay, this is where the story's going. But then I'm like, all right, when Jade comes back, this is your match that you're focusing on.
It's your story.
Out of the three, Bianca makes the most sense.
It does, and it's tough because it depends on how long they want to drag this out. If they're going to drag this out for a minute, it's Bianca. Because I think this sets up a Bianca-Jade match for Mania. My initial thought was a Bayley heel, just because Bayley gets too babyface when she's babyface, right? There's not enough edge to her, and she loses the crowd. She needs to stay heel, right? Like the babyfaces these days, even Bianca, they have that edge to them still that keeps them interesting.
I mean, even John Cena had edge to him.
Right, and Bayley just doesn't have that edge as a babyface.
She goes too full on, like...
nice girl, innocent, So Bayley heel would make sense, and that is if they want to tell this story within the year, like within 2024.
Yeah.
If we're carrying this into 2025, it's Bianca.
This is Shawn Michaels, Triple H, like 02 all over again.
Yep, 100, and they can go that for Bianca and Mania. I would love that.
Just please handle it differently. Don't do this, the security, the digital reveal, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's not.
And the one thing I'll say, I know some people like maybe Naomi. I don't know that Naomi as a heel in this story with Bianca and Jade, that has a lot of legs in the long term.
It doesn't. And I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong by saying it doesn't. I just think on face value right now, to me, it makes more sense where you can get a couple matches out of it with Bianca.
Yes. Bobby Lashley beat Swerve at Full Gear, his AEW debut. Pretty clean.
Yeah.
Good match.
Yeah.
Took out Prince Nana afterwards.
Son of a bitch. Put Prince Nana. No, that was a line for me.
That was a line.
I was all with it until that. I was like, you mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it was, you know what, as it should have been. You can't have Bobby Lashley show up and then take a loss.
Yeah, and that was my worry with, and this is Tony Khan, when everyone heard Bobby Lashley's coming to AEW, the first match you thought of was Swerve.
Yeah.
And what does Tony do? First match, Swerve.
Swerve.
Right?
Yeah.
But the problem with this is Swerve has now put guys over on consecutive pay-per-views, right? And I understand Lashley needing this win, and I'm all for it. I do not like how big of a star Swerve has turned into over the last year, where he's turned into the guy that's putting everyone else over. He put Adam Page over, who hasn't won a match since, by the way. And then Bobby Lashley, he has to put him over. So it does make sense. Big picture, though, this is why this match should have waited. Bobby Lashley could have got a win over someone else on pay-per-view. Ricochet, sorry, he seems to be the guy to always put people over. You know what I mean? He could have got
big bucks.
He could have got a pay-per-view debut win over someone else and then get to the Swerve where it could have gone either way.
Yeah. I just think, well, again, you know, it is the kind of Tony Khan booking, or just the kind of like, I don't have the patience booking, let's just do it.
Yeah.
But the match was fine.
Yeah, the match was
and
great.
I think if you are going to book him, if you're going to put them in the match, it wouldn't have mattered if you waited another month or two.
Yeah.
I think Lashley has to win that match.
Yeah, and I also appreciated the pace of that match, because AEW matches, and this isn't just pay-per-views, it's every TV show, they always have to have 4 false finishes, and it takes, you know, whatever, where like Lashley and Swerve, they got to the point, right? There wasn't all these crazy false finishes, some cool high, you know, leverage spots to the end.
I like the getting to the point, which is something we did see earlier in the night with Ospreay and Fletcher.
Yes. There's
no bullshit before the bell ring. It's like, if it's a grudge match, be a grudge match.
Go.
You've been waiting to get in the ring with this person. Don't give me a bunch of taunts and standing and posing. Like, just get to it.
Let's get to Kyle Fletcher. Beat Will Ospreay. You're shocked by this, and do you believe in Kyle Fletcher as a single star?
I think I have to.
Yeah.
After this, and they've been I mean, he's proven he's pretty good on the mic. He can go. The match was awesome.
Yes.
And he got a pretty decisive win. I love how they played up on the hand, the arm injury, the hand injury, all that stuff with Ospreay.
Sure.
At this point, I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, you can't just throw this guy back into a tag team or make him a second fiddle to anybody.
Right.
He has to be a single star now, and he's really good at being a heel.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit it was easy to choose Will Ospreay in this match, and that's who I thought was going to win.
That was a crazy ending, too.
Great ending. And his cell, Ospreay's cell was spot on.
I'm like, that's it. He's dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's right. That's it, dude.
I love this for Kyle Fletcher, and they 100% have made another single star here.
Absolutely.
Fletcher looks like that. The match was great. It's believable, even though it's Will Ospreay. Yeah. This was it was clean win, as legit as ever when it comes to making another single star. I worry for a guy like Ricochet that they bring a guy like Ricochet in, and then they go make a tag team guy into a great single star. Fletcher feels like he's going to take a spot that everyone thought Ricochet was going to take. The one issue I have with this match is we have Randy Orton out for weeks selling a pile driver, and yet Will Ospreay kicked out from a pile driver on the steps and a pile driver in the ring afterwards.
Yeah.
That is just disrespectful to the industry. Like, that is something. I
wonder if that was almost by design.
Especially for what, and it might have been, but
just like an FU,
for what that move has been in wrestling history, and also legitimately what it's done to people. For them to use it as a transition move, it's cartoonish. It's reminding people, hey, what we're doing is fake. You know what I mean? And like that's where it gets into like, yeah, that's fake, right? Yeah. Where like Randy Orton got dropped on his head, he's out for weeks. That's believable. Right? Sell this shit, and I hate
the pile driver. Again, it should be that move. I mean, just Steve Austin and Owen Hart, '97. It's the move where it's like, look, this is why, like you said, this is why this thing should be banned, because you can legitimately, seriously injure or paralyze someone.
Exactly. Rhea Ripley came back for Women's War Games, masked up and all. Are you surprised they brought her back this quick?
Kind of, but I guess to further justify a War Games match for women, for the women's division, you need to put all the star power in it. Plus, it kind of allows for like, there's little branch off feuds you can have from this now. Rhea being pretty much the biggest star in this match.
Sure.
So I don't hate it. I just thought it was kind of quick to bring her back.
Yeah, I was surprised they brought her back this quick. I'm happy though, because it doesn't feel like this Liv Morgan feud is going to carry all the way to WrestleMania. Yeah. That was my worry. If she was gone until the Rumble or after that, okay, now we got to deal with this Liv Morgan feud into 2025. And again, like you mentioned, if this War Games match kind of needs the names because it is kind of a little glued together. Yeah. Right? So we got to put the big names in there to sell it. I'm for it, and especially, again, we don't need to drag out those Liv Morgan feud.
It's going to get us to our inevitable Dom versus Rhea match.
I can't wait. Let's do it. Cody challenged Kevin Owens to a match, but it sounds like it's going to take place at Saturday night's main event. If I said that right, there's an S in there somewhere.
You're doing great, man.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Are you surprised this isn't going at Survivor Series?
No, actually, I'm not. I mean, because you're reintroducing this show. They want to make it something big, and the network's going to want something big for the debut. Why not go with this one?
Sure.
You know, it's your no disrespect, but it's the main world champion.
Yeah.
You know, versus the obvious big storyline right now on SmackDown for that. So I don't have a problem with it. Would it have been fine at Survivor Series? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't see an issue with it being on Saturday Night Main
I don't
Event.
have an issue with this match being at Saturday Night's Main Event, but at the same time, this is, again, if you listen to their face-to-face promo, their whole issue is centered around the Bloodline. So you could have had, and Cody is your biggest face, so for him to not be on Survivor Series at all is going to be weird, because Survivor Series is a big, deal, and he, of all people, as of right now, not on the card if this match doesn't take place, so you could have got your Cody fix in War Games with KO, and then still done this match at Saturday Night's Main Event.
He might show up.
He still might show up. I'm sure he will. There's no way he can just take Survivor Series off.
I don't think he's going to take Survivor Series.
But at the same time,
he'll be there in a suit and tie with his title.
The easiest way to do this. Again, I love the CM Punk thing, but watching this and hearing that this match is not even happening at Survivor Series, I'm like, this should have been in War Games. I can't get off of that, and I'm going to stay on it. This should have been in War Games.
Okay.
Daniel Garcia took the TNT title from Jack Perry at Full Gear. You like this move?
I do, because I think it's kind of like either do it or don't when it comes to Daniel Garcia. You need to, they talk about the pillars of AEW, and it's like, okay, well, make some new ones.
Sure.
You got guys like him who are there and ready for it. That's the same way I feel about Private Party, in the sense of, like, I don't want them to drop the titles now.
Right.
If you're going to run with it, run with it.
Yes.
Make it work. Daniel Garcia, I think it's time, and they did pull the trigger on that, make him a champion. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, they've held off on pulling the trigger on him a few times. We talked about the stop and start of his run, and I love that he finally got his moment. It felt like a good timing in terms of Jack Perry's run. It doesn't feel like too short. It feels like, it's time.
It served its purpose.
It served its purpose. Let's move on, right? And Garcia, of course, coming off that big moment with MJF at the pay-per-view, ended up re-signing with AEW. It's like, okay, well, we don't want to just bring him back and then continue to not give you a title. So on Raw, Bo Dallas cut a promo looking just like Bray Wyatt.
Eerie.
Very. Are you cool with going this route, or should he have his own look when he's not Uncle Howdy?
Well, Uncle Howdy is his own look, but then this, I get kind of the pushback on it, but I also get the support angle on it, because it's like, this is an incorporation of what everybody wants anyway. We all wish Bray was still here.
Yes.
Like, legitimately still here to be part of this angle. We're going to kind of get that in a I don't know, like in a spiritual sense or whatever, through his brother, to kind of incorporate him as a member of this group. So it's like, I'm fine with it, and he's still doing his own thing. It's not like he's completely taking on Bray's character, the Uncle Howdy thing was not Bray's character. So I'm with it.
I love it for the emotional sense of paying tribute to Bray. Like you mentioned, it's his brother, and we all wish he was still here. Yeah. And at the same time, the eerie sense, right? Like,
it's creepy.
The supernatural of it, you could have some fun with this in terms of the supernatural of, like, Bray is within him, right?
You're watching, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. And because of the type of character and story this is, they could play into that.
Makes it a little uneasy, but let's run with it. Yeah.
And that's what they want. And that's what Bray would want. And that's what Bo wants. Yeah. And again, like, play into that shit.
I just love it that it's being carried out.
Yes.
It's not just some other random wrestler who was a fan of Bray's work. It's like his actual family. It's his brother.
Yeah.
Just carrying on.
It allows people to still be invested.
Yeah, it's like, dude, that's your brother.
And
it
you
makes
still
sense.
have Rowan involved. If Alexa Bliss gets involved, people who are involved in the Bray Wyatt lore,
like
right?
universe.
Like, exactly. Love that. Back to AEW. A couple more things from Full Gear real quick. First, Kyle O'Reilly, kind of some dissension, getting involved with Adam Cole, shoving him down after Roderick Strong got beat by MJF and injured. Do you want an Undisputed Era reunion here, or do we go keep them separate? How do you want this to go?
I kind of want to see Kyle O'Reilly establish his own thing.
Yeah.
For himself. I feel like we just keep going back to that Undisputed Era, Undisputed Kingdom, blah, blah. Like, do it or don't, and then you kind of did it, but it wasn't the same because it was like, I want to see him establish his own way, be his own man, and not have him constantly tied to Cole, Undisputed Era, Undisputed Kingdom.
I do. I just don't. And he's had some fun. It's turned into more of a comedic character when it comes to, the conglomeration and everything he's doing with them. I want him, if he's going to be on his own, I'd rather him be more serious. And if we're not going to go that route, then I'm all for an Undisputed Era reunion and actually do it, right?
Yeah,
because you mentioned Undisputed Kingdom. They barely did it. People got injured. They just said, act like you never saw that. We're going to go back to...
This never happened.
This never happened. MJF, again, showing the regression, by the way, during that match with Roderick Strong in his character work, because he's back to working for this shit of a company.
Yeah.
Didn't you tattoo?
Yeah. What the
on
hell?
The back of your
you got a whole
leg?
tattoo, dude. Not only that, but going into the Undisputed Kingdom, Undisputed Era thing, if they go that route, here's my thing with them. You have the Hurt Syndicate. You would potentially have this group. Have factions lined up that are going to challenge Death Riders.
Yep.
Because the Death Riders are being treated like the NWO, where they're this separate faction of the company.
Yep.
Versus the entire AEW. So you can have these alliances, these loose alliances between factions, say we don't really like each other, but we hate these guys.
Yep. And again, those factions, and the fact that you have a powerful faction like that gives you more reason to. You have the guys from Undisputed Era right there. You can use Bennett and David too, and make a new Undisputed Era. And
I want to see things like the Hurt Syndicate sitting in like a VIP booth or sitting in the front row that's sectioned off, watching Moxley's matches. I want to see them just kind of like where it's a thing where it's like, Bobby Lashley is interested in your title.
Yes.
And he wants it.
Yep.
And he doesn't care who you are, what you're beating up. He's going to take your championship.
They need one more member before they do that, though.
Yeah.
They need to make it 4-on-4. I still think Ricochet going heel, especially watching Ricochet lose again on pay-per-view. Ricochet needs to go to the Hurt Syndicate.
I think so. I think that's the argument they're probably going to give him. Like, dude, look, you're getting smacked around. Yeah. We could help you.
Last thing, Mariah May, Mina Shirakawa turning on each other basically, and going through the table, which God, that looked painful.
They went through something.
They went
they
through
hit
something.
And then they went.
There was blood and everything. Do you like this for Mariah May's run?
Sure. I don't. It came across kind of clunky.
Yeah.
But they eventually got where they were trying to go.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? Let's do it. I mean, it's kind of like I feel like we're kind of hitting the Tony Storm thing again that happened, but you know,
they could tell the same type of story as her and Tony Storm, which is good to a sense. It feels repetitive to a sense. This goes back to what I said earlier. Wrestling can be predictable sometimes, and when everyone saw that there was going to be a celebration at the pay-per-view, they go, "Oh, someone's turning on someone."
Shout out to that kick of the glass with the stilettos on, though.
That was great.
That was wild.
That was great.
I legitimately popped for them. Hey.
Yeah, and the way she sold it afterwards.
That was with precision too.
Yes, precise kick. Sold it afterwards. Badass.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. That spear though, that table.
In a dress and heels, I'm like.
Good on you.
Respect.
More respect to you. Last thing, real quick. Shout out Ricky Stark showing up at a GCW event.
Shout out to Ricky Starks leaving his house.
Man, good on him.
Look at him going outside and being social.
His WWE run is going to be insane.
Amazing. Royal Rumble.
That dude is a star.
We put everything on the Royal Rumble. Everything's gonna happen at the Royal Rumble.
Everything's going to happen at the Rumble. Ricky Starks is a fucking star, dude.
Is Ricky Starks your new MJF is coming back now?
Yes, 100%. Ricky Starks is going to be in the Royal Rumble because the fact that AEW put this, and he said in his promo, I'm not going to sit on ice. Like the fact that they put this dude on ice, everything he's done has been quality gold.
So
in
4 to
AEW.
5 months from now, 4 to 5 months from now, when Ricky Starks shows up in AEW again with an AEW giant back tattoo.
Yeah, right. And then 4 months later, talk about how much you hate the company.
Like, all right. Danny Garcia is going to be in the Royal Rumble.
We got this. Ricky Starks.
Jack Perry and Danny Garcia both go to the Royal Rumble.
Ricky Starks is a fucking star, bro. Roar Around the Ring is available every week. Find us on YouTube at Roar Around the Ring. He's that dude, Daryl Taylor. I'm Justin Valentine. Talk to you guys very soon.